Hey guys, this is Security Dan and welcome to my tutorial on the Heartbleed bug. So today I want to give you guys some background on the Heartbleed bug, show you guys the different steps on how to verify if a website is even vulnerable to the bug, and then we'll go into actually exploiting the vulnerability by using a Python script. So the Heartbleed bug was disclosed in early 2014 and it impacted the OpenSSL cryptography library. The weakness behind the bug allows any user on the internet to read the memory of the systems based on the vulnerable version of OpenSSL. There is a component in the OpenSSL library known as the TLS Heartbeat extension. This extension's function was to help avoid reestablishing sessions and allow for a mechanism by which SSL sessions could be kept alive for longer. By exploiting this extension, any user on the internet can pull a small chunk of memory from a system which can contain user-critical information such as private keys, usernames, passwords, credit card information, any kind of confidential documents that may be passing through that server. It was rumored about 500,000 web servers that were supposedly secure were actually vulnerable to this attack on the day of disclosure. Most machines were patched right away, but there are still a lot of machines that are out there on the internet that are still vulnerable. So before I begin, please note this tutorial is for informational purposes only and should be used on test environments only. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through these different steps. I have the instructions on the right, and then we're going to use the command line, download a file from GitHub, and we're going to try to exploit the Heartbleed bug on a test server. So the very first thing that we need to do if we want to implement this exploit is we need to find if a web server is even vulnerable to this attack. So many servers have already been patched, but there's still a lot that are out there that haven't been. So one tool that is really helpful is the ability to determine if a web server has been patched. So I have a test server here. It's called www.scrooge-and-marley.com. So this is a test environment that a company created where you can use it, get some research out of it, you can exploit this vulnerability and kind of test the Heartbleed bug so you can get a better understanding on how it works. So what we can do first is let's make sure that this is vulnerable. So I'll put this inside this website here and I'll just press go. And based on the header information it can get from the page, based on it hitting it, it can determine right away if it's vulnerable or not. So right away we know that it's vulnerable, so we have a site that we can start to exploit. So what we'll do now that we've completed number one is we want to download a script that we can use to actually do the exploit. So somebody has been generously already created this for us. So what we'll do is we're going to download this from GitHub. So I'm going to be using Kali Linux to do this, but you can use any kind of operating system. We really just need to be able to run Python. So I'll copy this, but what this is just a command that we can use inside the command line, and we're basically just going to clone a library from GitHub that includes the exploit that's been written in Python. So the last piece here is I'm just putting this on my desktop. You can put it on anywhere you want on your machine. You just need to be able to navigate it and run in that folder. So what we'll do is just press enter. It's going to pull in the library. Now if I go to my desktop, we're going to see right away I've got my folder here and I've got my file. So here's the Python script. So what we'll do now is we'll navigate to that folder in the command line. So what you can do is we can just put in a command to get to that particular folder. So I've just labeled it Heartbleed Python and we'll press enter. So we just saw the folder. There's only that one file and it's a Python script file. So what we can do is check out some of the different options that are available. So before you run any kind of tool, you don't want to just run it. You want to see what's available for your options if you want to make different customizations to the tool. So what we're going to do is we're going to run just this help command. And now I can kind of see the different options that we have for this exploit. So you can change the port number. By default, SSL works on 443, so that's the default port. You can actually run this in a loop, so you don't just run it one time, you keep running the exploit. So we'll probably run it 10 times just so that we can get a bunch of information from that web server. You can choose different ways how you want to export the information out. Do you want to print it on the console, or do you want to put it in a raw format in a text file? It might be easier to work with it when it's in a text file. So you have a bunch of different commands. So what we'll do here is, now that we know the different options, we'll come in here and we'll run our Python script. So we'll do Python heartbleed.py, and then you're going to put in the vulnerable domain that we just checked earlier. So scroogeandmarley.com, and now I'm going to put in some of the different options that I see. So like A would be output.txt is what I'll call this. I'm just going to throw all the output from ASCII into a text file. And then what I'm going to do is I want to run this 10 times. So one time I might not get as much information, so I'll run this 10 times. So just press enter, and here you can see it just ran the Heartbleed exploit. So we have all this information in the console, but what's really helpful is we've exported this into a file. So I have this output.txt file, and what we'll do is we'll just open this guy up. So now you can actually read this file in a good format, and you can see exactly what that server was processing. So if anybody has certificate keys, username, password, we're able to actually see this from the Heartbleed exploit. So what's cool about this is a test web server, and it actually has kind of like a secret message. It's just like a paragraph that just lets you know, hey, it's like a key almost from a capture the flag. But you can see a lot of important information, some code in here, different settings. This is all coming from the memory of that server. So these are things that people do not want the public to see. This stuff is supposed to be encrypted, but it's not because of this bug. So you can see right away how important this bug is, and it's and how much information that can actually be seen from this. So that's pretty much the Heartbleed exploit. What you'll do is you can just run that Python script, output it, and you can start doing your testing on your own sites. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, just let me know. Thanks a lot.